It's dark. It's a dark video as I smack my knee upon the table. Because that's what we do for fun. That's not fun. That hurts. Let's not do that. Hi. Yesterday was work. I had to go into work, which is about an hour away from home. So there's a little bit of commute. So I'm a little tired today because yesterday was a busy day. And so it's an hour getting there and then having work and then coming back. I just, in the land where, in this time where there's very little communication with people and very little getting outside and doing stuff and being around people, having, a 2 hour or an hour commute both ways and then seeing people is always very interesting and tiring and exhausting and all kinds of emotions and all kinds of things. Of course, it's always a blessing. It's always a nice thing that I have work that I can be able to do and go to and stuff like that. So that's always part of it. But the tired is real. The tired is real, guys. So I woke up this morning feeling very tired, very uninspired, very smack my head against the table, kind of, what am I doing with my life? This is exhausting. Can I just stay in bed all day? Open my eyes and just go, nope. Back to bed, which is what I wanted to do, but there's lots to do still today, and I did want to get some writing in. So I had a very full day, and well, technically it wasn't a terribly full day, but it was a decently full day for feeling exhausted and feeling like I didn't want to get out of bed. And yeah, so I had a nice long conversation with my friends, which is always good. Friends are nice. Friends are good to have. I like friends. I'm very pro friends. I think there's lots of different kinds of friends. And I like all the different kinds of friends. It's very good. But yeah, so today did that, and afterwards I had the chance to be able to write for another hour. So today is logged and into the books. It's done. I actually passed, what was it, 16,000 words today for this thing that I'm working on, whatever it is, this crazy little novel, wacky whatnot. That's its title, The Wacky Whatnot. That'd be cool. So I'll just call it now, The Wacky Whatnot. The chaotic wacky whatnot. And though that's kind of hard to say. But yeah, so stepped into that world a little bit more today and got to fiddle around with the origin story a little bit more, like I was working on before work, before Wednesday. And that was fun. I got to explore kind of a start of something interesting, something relational, and I haven't done a whole lot of relational work yet in the story, which is fun and new and interesting. I'm not really, I don't really know where I'm going to take like relationships in general with this type of writing, mostly because there's just so many bad relationships that are shown in novels as good relationships, and I really just want to fight that, because it's so easy to write a bad relationship, because in the end it kind of sells well, because it's so raw and so, I don't know, there's just something so visceral about relationships that are toxic, but at the same time I feel like we're taught that a lot of toxic aspects of a relationship are actually good, and that there's something that we should actually desire and something that we should actually want. And so we feed that, and we feed that into our literature, and we feed that into our culture. And I just have no desire to do that. So, but at the same time, I don't want to just have like good friendships for the sake of not having good romantic relationships, or just having good friendships, Like, I want there to be a balance between good friendships and good relationships, or at least good romances and things like that. I want a wide variety of things, um, because I don't think that we should be scared of writing relationships just because there is so many bad relationships being portrayed in literature. I think that's a very good reason to write good relationships and to teach people what good relationships might actually look like and to call out the things that are actually toxic and things like that. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what happens with those kinds of relationships. I also find that, like, sometimes it's really difficult to write in a way that isn't reflective of, sometimes it's really hard to write in a way that it's not too blatant, not too in your face what you're trying to say, and not too culturally driven, If there's an aspect of culture, if there's, I just don't want my culture or culture in general to shape the way that I write. And I think that a lot of how we write and just who we are is very shaped by culture and where we're from and how we've grown up and our experiences and things like that. But I also think that we should challenge ourselves, or at least I want to challenge myself to be able to think outside of the box and think outside my perspective, kind of take on other people's perspectives, take on the perspectives of the characters, and therefore, what they care about and what they're considering, and how they think is different than how I think and how I've grown up and stuff like that. So it's an interesting dynamic to be the person who's giving these words to people who may or may not ever say those words if they were actually real people. So being able to recognize what words and what dialogue is actually just my dialogue and my words rather than what these characters would specifically say. It's a difficult thing to do. It's a difficult balance. But once you realize that, you're just kind of like what I said, that you're just the vessel right now, and you are the one that, you may be the one who's writing, but the characters already exist, and you're just giving them a voice and allowing them to do what they need to do and what they want to do is, I think, when you can do that, then you have a really good story. And not that you have to do that. Like, there's so many different kinds of writing. There's so many different kinds of writing styles that I think it's really important to find what works best for you and find out what works best for your characters and all that kind of hoot, not, and what and nanny. Yeah, you heard me. Hoot, not, and what and nanny. By figuring out what works best for you. But that's just something that I've been thinking about a little bit. Just what these characters actually want to say and how to remove myself as much as possible from their own story. It may be my story, but really it's their story that I'm trying to tell. And if I try to combine the two, if I try to tell their story, or if I try to tell my story with them at the same time that I'm trying to tell their story, then there's conflict there. And I think that the readers will definitely notice when that happens, when you can very obviously hear the author and very obviously point it out and be like, I don't think that they would actually say that or experience that or feel that way. And I think a lot of the times we as readers just take writers for the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing and they meant to do this and and all that kind of stuff. But as much as I think that we should be kinder to authors, I think that we should be more critical to authors as well, and critical to their writing. Not unkind kinds of critical, but constructive kind of criticism. I just think that we need to spend more time thinking through writing, through characters, through, plot and story and all these different other kinds of things. And not that we don't do that, but um, particularly with like YA genre or not a younger audience or even an older audience. I think that there's definitely some really great writers out there who know how to write a great story, and they know how to write with meaning. But there's also a lot of not great stuff out there as well. So I think it's just really important to have a lens of literature where we can be able to really ask good questions as we're reading and engage with reading and read actively and read in a way that we're not just consuming the words, but read in a way that we're making the book our own in some ways, and that we're studying it in some ways, that we're engaging with it and learning about it, um, and asking questions and all that kind of stuff, because I think that just makes the experience all the more meaningful. But at the same time, I think that I just think it makes it more meaningful. And yeah, at the same time, I think it just helps train our brains to be able to do that with everything in life, to be able to not look at everything with criticism, but look at everything with not caution, but consideration, with understanding, with awareness of where this is coming from, you know, being able to understand plots and all this different kinds of stuff. So I think that the world needs more literacy again. And I don't mean that necessarily just with news literacy or things like that. It's also really important. Um, Internet literacy. That's of course very, very important. But I think it all, travels down to high school reading, English class, learning how to read and learning how to ask questions and active reading questions, and being able to find motive and being able to find point of view and be able to think critically and to think um, in a way where you're asking yourself, well, what the point in all of this is. What are you trying to what's the author trying to really get to here? I think it's also just really, really important, and something that if it's not something that we engaged with in high school, that's something that we should learn how to engage with as we get older. Um, so yeah, I think about that kind of stuff a lot, and it's something that I um, want for my own life, and it's partly the reason why I read so much and I think so much while I'm reading. But at the same time, good escapist literature totally has its place, and reading a book where you're just like, I don't want to think about anything right now, and just like completely devour it, definitely has its own place. But I think that there's balance to it, and there's meaning in deep thinking and critical thinking while you're reading, and not just consuming. But there's also an aspect of like escapist literature that's totally just fun, and fun reading is extremely important as well. So I was thinking about that. The other thing that I was thinking about today was just how difficult, when I was thinking about today, was that when I woke up this morning, I did not feel like writing, did not feel like sitting down and visiting this world and creating or whatever. I didn't want to do anything really. It had nothing to do with writing. I just didn't want to do anything. And I feel like, there's times in my life where there's definitely, a point to listening to your body and listening to yourself, that when you're tired, to give yourself rest. But I also think that there's times when it's really good to push yourself as well, that when you do feel tired, still go into work, still do what you were planning on doing, still, keep on going. I think that it's really important to recognize the difference between the two. That when you need the rest, to take the rest, but also to recognize that when you are feeling tired, that there's times that are, even if you are feeling tired, it's still good to get up and exercise. It's still good to write a little bit. And I think finding the balance between the two and getting to know yourself so well that you can recognize the difference between the two and to be able to follow through with that, I think is really important. I'm not good at it. I'm still struggling with it and trying to figure it out. But today, I think it would have been really easy for me to just be like, no, I don't want to. And that would have been okay. And like, I can give myself grace in that. But at the same time, I know that if I hadn't sat down, some quality English right there. But if I hadn't sat down and written and done the work that I wanted to get done today, then that would have filled me all the more with anxiety and depression and sadness that I didn't get it done. And that wouldn't have made me happy, So I'm not any more or less tired than I was this morning. I'm still pretty much exactly the same amount of tired, even though like I even got like a nap in and stuff like that. But welcome to my body and the tired. But yeah, I'm the same amount of tired, but at least I know that I can think back in my day and be like, okay, I'm tired, but at least I got in some of these things that I wanted to get done, that I know that are good for my mental health and that are good for just my joy and for fun and enjoyment and things like that. And I think that there's definitely times when it's easy to be too easy on yourself and too, willing to just let yourself not do anything. And while there's definitely days that that's really important, I also think that there's definitely days where it's really good to push yourself and to push. At least for me, there's really lots of days that I need to push myself to do the things that I need to do, so that at the end of the day, I don't have those things trailing and I don't have those things kind of haunting me, saying I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done that. I think setting, goals for yourself for the day and being able to complete those goals, no matter how small they actually are, is an extreme, it's an extremely satisfying and gratifying thing. I think it's really important for how we feel about our day at the end of the day and what we carry into our next day, because it all builds upon each other, And so, yeah, I just want to keep on I don't make good choices all the time. And I'm always constantly making the wrong choice and being like, that was the wrong choice. But at the same time, like, I think that's partly the reason why I'm doing this writing thing and just trying to hold myself accountable to do an hour that is highly manageable, that's highly reasonable. Like an hour, 4 times out of the work week is highly manageable, should be at least. And kind of having those goals that are easily accomplished. But, the reason why I did only an hour was because it stretched me to a particular limit, Me just sitting down and me saying, I'm gonna write, was something that I couldn't do for a long time for a lot of different reasons, because I was scared, because I was anxious, because I had all of these different voices inside of my head telling me why I shouldn't be writing, why I don't have, any reason to write, why I don't have any talent for writing, whatever it was. All of these different things stopped me from writing. And so just me sitting down was a limit to me, was a scary, scary position for me just to sit down. And now that I can sit down, now that I have been able to sit down, having these very manageable goals and having these manageable um, sets of time that I can know, okay, today I sat down and wrote an hour. That was a goal. I did that. Check. And so not only does the experience of writing bring me joy, but at the same time, at the end of the day, I know that I've actually accomplished something that I set my mind to do. And I think that that's very mentally healthy. It gives my brain, it makes my brain happy. So I try, that's partly another reason why this is important. It's not just my journey of writing, it's also a journey of getting my brain to a point, getting my head to a point where it's healthier, getting my heart to the point that it's healthier, where I can talk about these kinds of things more freely and that I can write more freely. And I do feel like I have a voice to be able to say things. So yeah, so I hope that even you guys, I hope that you guys can be able to use this as a thought, as a potential inspiration, whatever, to find small goals in your life, things that make you happy, things that are manageable and not hugely, outside of your comfort zone, Choose the things that are a reasonable limit, a reasonable stretching of where you are currently, a reasonable challenge, and to be able to check it off your list and say, hey, I did that today. That was a good job. Good job, me. And even doing things that making it something that you find fun, making it something that gives you joy. Maybe it's just something that you need to do, that you know that you just need to get it off of your list so that you can have that space, so that you don't have to be thinking about it anymore. The small goals, they don't have to be huge. And if those small goals can, like with what I'm trying to do, if those small goals can grow into something bigger, you know, like I'm trying to do, those small individual goals, that once a day writing, practically once a day writing, is going to grow into something. It's going to carry on. Each day is going to carry on into the next. And at the end of a month, at the end of a year, then I'm gonna have something big. Who knows what it is? Who knows if it'll be good? Who knows if, it'll be publishable? Who knows if it's, gonna be of value to the rest of the world? But I'll know when I see that I worked hard, and I'll know that when I see that that's because I sat down, that I came to the table almost every single work week day, and that in the process of doing those small little goals, I was actually able to create something of weight, of magnitude. And even if it doesn't reach other people, it still was a journey that was important to me. And yeah, and I hope that you guys in your journey can be able to look back, not only just, a month from now, a year from now, but also to be able to look back from your life, but to be able to look back on your life from now and being able to see, how far you've come, or yeah, or even what you want to be able to do next. So I'd love to hear what your goals are. I'd love to hear what you guys have been thinking about, what kinds of things you are interested in, what kinds of things, give you joy. Let's make this a very joyful let's make this video, let's make this channel be about what brings us joy, because that's an important question, and it's important to fight for our joy, because there's a lot of people and a lot of experiences and a lot of events in our life that try to steal our joy, and it's very easy for our joy to be stolen. And I think that's why we have to fight all the harder to be able to keep it, and to be able to do the things that give us joy, and to set our minds upon what gives us joy, and to be able to set our minds upon the understanding and the knowledge that in order to do these things, or in order to be able to have that joy, it means that we actually have to complete those things that give us joy. And sometimes we don't want to, and sometimes we just want to lay in bed. But sometimes it's also good to, create that, to live in that balance, to live in that tension, it's good to have a little bit of that self-control present so that we can be able to put action to our knowledge of what actually gives us joy, and yeah, be able to do it. So I know that sometimes we can't, and even, and we can't necessarily always choose it, and that sometimes we block ourselves, and sometimes sometimes life just doesn't even allow us that, and that is what it is. It is, you just do the best that you can and you keep on going. But here's to brighter days, to more joyful days. May, yeah, be good. Anyways, all right, this is a little bit longer. Okay. Blanket. Free. Okay. I am going to sign off for now. Alrighty, lovely people. I will see you